Welcome back. In this one we're going to talk about editing files. I showed you in a previous video I've got touch here which creates files, touch another one, and make dir which creates directories on the from the command line, and you can come in here and you can double click files and you can edit them. This is some text, but that's lame because you have to double click and open a window, and if you're remoting into a server you don't really have that option so much. I mean, you could have at a certain point, but it is way easier to be able to just stay in your command line, not have to pull your fingers off the keys at all. And so we're going to talk about how to do that. There are, as you can probably guess, several ways to edit files from the command line, several different text editors. I think by far the easiest one for a beginner to use is called Nano. So you can do it. You can open it just like that. You just type Nano, and you can see you're in a new window that you're editing files, and enter doesn't activate commands anymore. Enter, you're typing just like, the shift, you're typing just like you normally would. And then you've got a nice little tool belt down here at the bottom of your different commands that you can run. You won't necessarily need to use all of these all the time, and you'll notice that it says new buffer in here. And so what that means is we're editing a file, we're in the directory that we were in, which was the desktop, and we're editing a new file that hasn't been saved yet. Right now it's all in memory. So if we type check out my cool new file, the way to say it, we're like, how do we get out of here? We look down here. This little caret sign, which you'll see a lot in the terminal, is it's the control key. So if you want to exit, you just push Control X on your keyboard. I know it's on a Mac, and I know usually you're using Command to do stuff, but here you use Control, which is nice because it carries over to Windows and Linux quite nicely. And then you notice it asks you some changes. Save modified buffer, and you say yes, and it says file name right, and obviously you haven't written a file name, and so we'll say super cool file bro.txt. And you'll see that it came in, and we can, so if you want to edit a file, you can nano and the file name super cool file bro.txt, and there it is. And you can and I'm going to use the little trick here, type Control G just to take a look. There's a bunch of different help things to push. I pushed Control G to help. One of the ones that you might use a lot, look at all of these keys. These two are probably the ones I use most often if I'm in Nano, is Control A to go to the beginning of the line and Control E to go to the end of the line. So if I Control E, I bring to the end of the line, and Control A, go to the beginning of the line. The nice thing about that is that actually works inside your terminal too. So if I Control X to get out of here, and I type a whole bunch of blah, 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 and I go, oops, I made a typo at the beginning of the line. If I hit Control A, I'm back at the front, and then Control E, I can go back to the end. Another nice control key to know in the terminal is Control C, which just like cancels out of whatever you were doing. So if I have blah, 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 and you're like, oh, no, that's not a command, that's going to create an error. Control C, and it just ignores it. We already talked about Control L, which is another key for clear. One other thing I'm going to show you real quick, just as a quick, there's another text editor that you can use called Vim. Actually, so it came from an older text editor called VI, and then VIM for VI improved. That's more knowledge than you need, but a lot of people who do programming like it. I actually like it. When I'm in the terminal, that's my editor of choice. But it is a little dense for somebody who is just starting out. So if you hit Vim, you're in here and you look at this and you're like, what is happening? Luckily they show you this. I didn't see this the first time I did it. If for whatever reason you end up with the misfortune of showing up in Vim without a welcome page like that, so if you super cool file bro text, you're in here and you're like, there's squigglies, and then you go over here and you're like, okay, I'm ready to type. I'm going to type the, and nothing happened, and your cursor moved over a couple of letters. What is happening? Vim has a couple of modes, one where you can enter text and one where you can't. I'll talk about that in a video a little bit later. The one thing I want to show you is how do I get out, because that was so scary for me. I was freaking out, just slamming keys, and you just type colon, and you'll see it come up at the bottom here, colon, Q, enter. And if for some reason it won't let you, you can type colon, Q, exclamation point, and it means I mean it, and it'll kick you out. So that's no sweat. You've learned how to edit some files, and that'll help us as we go forward.